Hey guys, so a little less than a year ago, I uploaded a video titled 3D printed CO2 rockets, which ended up being one of my most popular videos. Now, while I was filming that video, I kept thinking to myself, it'd be really cool if I could somehow fit some sort of tiny camera inside of the rocket. Well, that idea stuck in my head, and I think I found the perfect camera for the job. This is a high-definition pen camera, and the components inside are definitely small enough to fit inside of a CO2 rocket. So I'm going to go ahead and take this thing apart and then design a new rocket to house the components. Rather than designing an entirely new rocket to house the camera, I decided to make an extension piece for my existing Tinkercad rockets. I didn't put much thought into this design, and I was really excited to try it out, so I went straight over to the park to test it. So we're going to try and shoot this now and see if it works. Alright, we're going. Face there. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Holy cow. I'm not going to lie, I was pretty surprised with how high this rocket went. Although I wasn't happy to see the rocket spinning out of control. Looking back at the onboard camera footage, it's pretty much impossible to tell what you're looking at. Although I did manage to capture a couple of still images from the footage. The rocket was unstable for two main reasons. The first reason being that the rocket's center of pressure was in front of its center of gravity, and the second reason being the pretty much useless fins. I think it's time to go back to the drawing board and experiment with some new rocket designs. In order for the rocket to fly straight up in the air without spinning out of control, there needs to be more weight added towards the top of the rocket. Rather than making the rocket even longer and adding some weight to the nose cone, I decided to try moving the CO2 cartridge up. This also allowed me to give the rocket some longer fins. Designing effective fins is tricky because they need to have the same outer diameter as the rocket in order to fit inside of the PVC pipe. What I ended up coming up with was a design that looks very similar to a mortar. I came up with 3 similar designs. All 3 of these rockets having different sized nozzles. I decided to give the one rocket longer fins and a sharper nose cone just to see how different it would perform. None of these rockets have the camera inside of them because I don't want to risk breaking it or losing it if they don't work out. I'm hoping at least one of these rockets will launch successfully and be stable so I can use that design to house the camera. So let's head back over to the park and test these out. Alright, so we're here for a second day and I have 3 more prototypes made up. So these ones don't have the camera in it. I'm just going to see if I can get them to fly straight, and if it works out, I'll add the cameras to one of these designs. And if you missed my previous video on the CO2 rockets, how I'm shooting them is I have this 5-foot length of PVC pipe here, and there's a spring-loaded plunger at the bottom, and when I shoot it, a nail drives up and pierces the bottom of the CO2 cartridge and sends the rockets flying. So let's try one of these rockets out. All right, we're gonna go with the black rocket first and see how this goes. Ready? 3, 2, 1. The black rocket seemed to fly pretty high, but unfortunately the bottom of the rocket broke off inside of the launch tube, and then the nose cone broke off in midair. So this design was pretty much an epic fail. The reason the bottom of the rocket broke off is because the inner diameter of the nozzle leading up to the CO2 cartridge was not much bigger than the outer diameter of the nail. When I hit the trigger, the nail must have rammed into the nozzle and broke it off before piercing a hole in the CO2 cartridge. Alright, so let's see how well the gray rocket performs. The gray one this time. You ready? Yep. Alright, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Wow. This second rocket went super high, and it flew very stable as well. It did a bit of a spiral upon launch, but it didn't flip upside down even once. You can watch the rocket eventually just disappear out of sight. Last up, we have the gray rocket with the longer fins. We'll see how this one does. You ready? Yeah. All right. 3, 2, 1. Uh-oh, that wasn't very good. Unfortunately, this rocket spiraled out of control and didn't end up going very high. When I got back home, I noticed that the CO2 cartridge barely got punctured and the hole was off to the side. This is probably what caused the rocket to fly sideways and do such a big spiral. Okay, so I ran into a bit of a problem. Even though I was successfully able to move the CO2 cartridge up towards the top of the rocket, it still ended up being tail heavy once added in the camera. This is because the pen camera's circuit board is just so long and there's no way that I can make it shorter. So I went browsing on Amazon and luckily I was able to find this USB drive spy camera, which is much shorter than the pen camera. It just doesn't have quite as nice as a picture, but that shouldn't be a problem at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this thing open and hopefully I can get it to fit inside of the rocket. After I removed the plastic housing and made sure that the camera could actually fit inside of the rocket, I went ahead and began designing a new enclosure that would be able to house the camera snugly inside. Once I finished the housing, I printed off some new rockets with longer bodies to make room for the camera. These rockets also have a hole for the lens and a hole for the power button. On top of that, I added a slot to the nose cones so they could just slide over top of the USB connector. Now let's head back over to the park and see if we can get some stable shots. Three, 2, 1. This first rocket went a whopping 10 feet into the air. Unfortunately, the nail only pierced the pinhole into the bottom of the CO2 cartridge. On the positive side, the slow motion shot still looked pretty cool, and the rocket seemed to be fairly stable. My girlfriend got a good laugh as well. My next attempt wasn't much better. Once again, the CO2 cartridge barely got punctured, and the rocket didn't go very high. On top of that, the onboard camera footage was completely terrible. At this point, I realized that the nail inside of the trigger mechanism was extremely dull, so I sharpened it up before yet another attempt. Three, 2, 1. If a typical amateur rocket is launched without fins, it will soon begin to tumble after leaving the launcher due to the way that aerodynamic and other forces, such as the wind, act upon the rocket. If you watch closely, you can see that the CO2 rocket flies stable until it loses thrust, and then it begins to fly unstable due to other forces. Even though I added longer fins to my rockets, they are still simply not cutting through the air enough to keep the rocket stable. Even when the rockets do fly considerably stable, I'm still unable to capture viewable footage because the fins don't stick out far enough to stop the rockets from spinning around. If I wanted to continue with this project, I would need to come up with some sort of pop-out fins or come up with some completely different way of launching the rockets to make room for bigger fins. It would also be smart to include a parachute of some sort so I don't have to worry about losing the rockets or breaking the camera. Rather than ending the video here, I thought that I would put the pen camera inside of a model rocket and see what kind of footage I could capture.
What follows is a brief construction montage. We hope you enjoyed this brief construction montage.
Okay, so because we put the USB camera inside of the CO2 rocket, I thought it'd be a cool idea to put the pen camera to good use. So I put it inside of this model rocket, and hopefully this all works out and we get some cool footage. Okay, it's filming. This is gonna be the trickiest thing. I can't feel my fingers. You ready? Yeah. Where is it? It's over there.
Dude, it's going straight down that way. We'll find it, 1,000,000%.
I don't know where it is at all.
Well, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. No idea where Austin is. No idea where the rocket is. So, I think we'll be out here for the next few weeks looking for this bad boy.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't get any stable footage from the CO2 rockets, it was still exciting to get some decent footage from this rocket that I could share with you guys. I am definitely no rocket expert, but I had a ton of fun with this project, and I learned quite a bit from it as well. If you have any ideas on how I can improve these rockets, please share them in the comments below. Also, congratulations to the 5 keychain winners. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.